Hello, and welcome to another episode of wjlive, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Michael Austin, a supervising reporter here at the Western Journal, and today I'm joined by one of my peons, one of my minions, Grant Atkinson, who's been doing a lot of great reporting recently. We have some fun stuff for you guys today. Musk did it. He officially purchased Twitter. He is the sole owner, I believe sole owner. I guess I don't know all the details of the deal, but Musk owns Twitter now, and he's declared that he's going to make it kind of the premier free speech platform. In addition to that, CNN Plus continues to just be the worst failure in streaming history. On both fronts, just amazing wins for free speech. Both in not letting left-wing disinformation get out there and also in allowing, we're finally, it seems like, going to get a place where there can be a true exchange of ideas in social media. So, yeah, this Musk news began early today. I think it was like 5 a.m. in the morning. We started hearing reports that Twitter's board had changed its mind. They were really antagonistic towards Musk during this entire process, but once they found out he had acquired $46 billion, they started changing their tune a bit. They're like, maybe it's time for us to stop swimming against the current on this one. So all day, we've just kind of been anxiously awaiting the news that, the purchase is official. And then finally, just not too long, probably 2-ish hours ago, it was announced Twitter and Musk had reached a deal. Twitter actually agreed to Musk's first offer. He said, "This is my first and final offer." And everyone was saying, "Oh, well, he'll have to, he's just saying things. He'll have to go back and up it." But no, they accepted his first and final offer. I mean, it's a huge win for free speech, right, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting they accepted his offer, but, when it's the richest man in the world and he's like a pretty good negotiator, I'm sure. So it's a little different than, you're trying to negotiate the price of a car or a house or something like that. I mean, this guy, we're talking about billions of dollars. So
the world's richest man now.
Yeah. So it's, when he makes an offer, he says, "This is my final offer." Like maybe that really would have been his final offer. I don't know what he would have done if he didn't take it, but it's very interesting that they decided to change their mind. It seems like it was kind of abrupt, but like you said, I think it's definitely a great thing for free speech.
Yes.
I think we have to be careful thinking about it as a great thing. I mean, it is a great thing for Republicans in the sense that it's for free speech, but it's not as if a right winger has taken over Twitter. I don't think Elon Musk is like a usual conservative in the way that you would think of it, but I think that he loves free speech, and that is in itself a conservative value. So I think in that sense, it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably describe him as center-right. He's not a full-on conservative. Probably has a lot of libertarian positions on things. He's certainly, although his companies have benefited greatly from big government and kind of a lot of the democratic policies that tend to favor large corporations over small businesses, although he's benefited from that, he's constantly spoke out kind of against the excesses of big government. And throughout all of this, he's maintained that Twitter does a very poor job of maintaining kind of a free speech public town square. And that's, one of his biggest goals is to create that, to kind of create, we're all communication now happens on the internet, on social media. And we haven't really had a great place where we can freely exchange those ideas in that space. And now that's what he's attempting to do. Musk put out a statement shortly after it was announced that he had acquired the company, and he said the following: "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features," and here's the big part, guys, "making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it." And so the reason that algorithms part, so he wants to make all algorithms open source. And, a lot of our viewers might be wondering, okay, what does that even mean? Well, Twitter has repeatedly, and this has been led off by kind of the Twitter board that, who knows how much influence they're going to have going forward, if they will even be with the company going forward. But, a big part of Twitter for some time now has been, okay, how do we censor misinformation and disinformation? Which basically just means, how do we censor conservative opinions and highlight liberal opinions? If it's a conspiracy theory about the 2020 election, that gets removed from Twitter. If it's a conspiracy theory about the 2016 election and Russian collusion, that is not censored from Twitter. And so,
or if it's not a conspiracy theory, that's 100% a true theory about like a laptop of somebody who's
and places like Twitter keeping the story about the laptop from being promoted on their platform. That's sort of how you rig an election. But regardless, they've been very lopsided with their censorship. And Twitter has said, well, it's just all about the algorithms. We make an algorithm, and it's designed at finding misinformation and eliminating and censoring it. But they haven't told us what those algorithms are. They haven't made them public. When Elon Musk says he's going to make them open source, that's essentially what that means. We'll be able to see, if your post gets censored, if you get shadow banned, if you're supposed to get a certain amount of traffic and all of a sudden, wait, nobody's viewing my tweet. Why is that? If it's in an algorithm, there will be 100% transparency, according to Musk. Obviously, Musk is a businessman, and not everything he says can be trusted at face value at the time that he says it, but looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, I think that's something that we deal with every day here and that conservatives deal with. It's not even necessarily that your tweet or your Facebook post or whatever gets taken down. Like, it's allowed to be posted. It's just that the website doesn't share it as much as it would another tweet or post or whatever site you're on. And so it's like, it's a little bit harder to diagnose, I guess, because it's not like they're blatantly saying we're not allowing this tweet. They're just kind of hiding it from view of most people and not putting it out there as much as they would. So I think that's one of the bigger problems that he wants to address.
Yeah, and in a lot of the congressional hearings you've seen about Twitter in recent years, Republicans keep making the case that Twitter is a publisher, not a platform. It editorializes by censoring certain opinions. It really editorializes in its in the kind of the most recent news of the day feed that they have. I don't know if you ever just go and look at that, when they talk about, new news about Ben Shapiro, or new news about, this Florida bill. They always give a sort of, they say it in a straight news kind of way, but the context is always favoring kind of the left-leaning Democrat narrative.
Or like if something's trending on like the right side.
That's
of the
what I'm talking
bar,
about, the trending. Yeah,
they'll like make up a reason why it's trending that's actually not the reason it's trending at all. That has to do with their narrative or whatever. Like if Ben Shapiro is trending because he said something good, it'll be like, Ben Shapiro is trending for a controversial comment, or like they'll twist it to mean something that's not actually
exactly. They editorialize. They've been a news publisher essentially. What Musk is talking about is turning them into a true platform. And we spoke exclusively with a legal analyst for Esquire Digital, and he wanted to warn our readers, our listeners, our viewers that don't expect any crazy changes up front. This may take some time. He said it would be very surprising if Elon Musk did anything, especially in the short term, to jeopardize the value of Twitter. Twitter will absolutely change and continue to evolve as a platform, but anyone who is expecting these changes to happen overnight is going to be sorely disappointed. So, this looks like great news right now. And it may very well turn out to be amazing news going forward, but any systemic change to Twitter is going to take some serious time. We're not going to hear about it, anytime super soon.
Yeah, he's still a businessman. Like you said, he spent $46 billion. Not all of it is like his own money out of his pocket, but there's $46 billion going into this, so he's not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize that investment or going to make it so that if he makes too many changes too quickly, it will seem as if, Twitter maybe is not as valuable as it was, or people will start to, jump ship, and that's not what he wants. So like this analyst said, it has to be kind of slow and methodical, and he's really got to think through what's best for free speech, but also at the same time, he's thinking about his own business interests. That's just natural.
There's going to be a bit of whiplash here. Like, you guys have been seeing new updates on this every day for like 3 weeks now. that's going to stop pretty much. Probably for the next couple of days, there'll be more news trickling out. But after that, it's going to take some time for anything else to develop with this story. And, it's like we said, this could be a huge win for free speech. We may finally have kind of that free social media platform. Not great news for Trump's Truth Social or for Parler or Gab. This kind of destroys the momentum of all of those.
It is interesting because I saw, I know you were sharing some of these too, but I saw like some tweets of conservatives saying, basically mocking what the left used to say of like, oh, if you don't like these rules, why don't you just go make your own platform?
Make your own platform, yeah.
It's like the tables have turned really quickly.
Oh, yeah, that's really funny. But, huge win, great for us. And while we're having great wins in this kind of free speech information arena, the left is beginning to suffer some pretty incredibly massive losses. The biggest, most notable of which is happening with CNN Plus. CNN decided to launch this streaming platform, and they expected it to be this massive success. They stole Chris Wallace from Fox News. They were going to do all these big things. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars, I think, in the promotional campaign. They had all these commercials, billboards in Times Square, all this stuff, and nobody's watching. Nobody wants to watch CNN Plus. Nobody wants to watch CNN anymore.
Well, quite literally, by April 30th, there will be nobody watching CNN Plus because they've announced that it's going to stop existing.
Oh, this is
so
fantastic.
There won't be anyone watching it then. Even right now, there's not a lot of people watching it, which is probably a big reason why they decided that they're not going to continue with it. Like you said, there's been hundreds of millions of dollars. $300 million at least is what the Hollywood Reporter said was spent on this project. It's been well over a year now in development. It was a big project of Jeff Zucker, the former CEO of CNN.
Right.
I guess he's still actually technically CEO until like May.
Is Zucker the guy that was on the video call?
Yes.
That's that guy?
Yes.
You guys can look up Jeff Zucker video call if you want to know more about that. You may not like what you find.
So
Sorry.
he was having a relationship with a coworker.
Right.
So anyway, very bad stuff going on there as usual at CNN. But since he's left, the project has kind of gotten worse and worse. It was already kind of on the ropes a little bit because there was this merger that happened between Warner Media and Discovery, and the guy who was the Discovery CEO, who is now the CEO of what's called Warner Media Discovery, because it's a merged platform.
Yeah.
But he was not so keen on the CNN Plus idea because Discovery already they have HBO Max, they have Discovery Plus. They don't really need a new service, especially one that nobody's watching. So it's
yeah. CNN viewership, it's on their main channel has been waning. Nobody reads their site. We consistently perform way better as a news publisher on Facebook than CNN does. So they continue to fall out of the top rankings.
Yeah, I think in this CNN Plus story, I guess it was last Thursday or so that it broke that they were going to be canceling it, and since then there's been a lot of excuses or like explanations as to why it hasn't worked. Oh, this merger happened. Jeff Zucker leaving, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is why it's not working. I think those things miss the main point, which is that CNN ratings, as you said, have been terrible for the last year plus.
Yeah.
Pretty much ever since Biden got in office, CNN ratings have been terrible. And now they're trying to get people to buy their content that people don't even want to watch for free, and they thought people were going to buy it, and they said that they thought they would get 2 million subscribers within the first year, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, they were nowhere close to that, and it's just, I think you can come up with reasons all day, but there's a basic premise of people don't like what CNN is selling, so they're not going to buy it.
Well, and people have talked a lot about, okay, what is wrong with news media today? And one of the biggest things they look at, with CNN and a lot of these establishment outlets, and even, Fox News and some right-wing outlets, is that people look for the titles and stories that will perform the best, that people engage with the best, but they take no time to care about whether the story is actually true. You see all these stories where they're running with anonymous sources that turn out to be false. A big one that comes to mind is when they were saying that Trump said all those horrible things about veterans, behind the scenes. Just a bunch of anonymous sources and the story turned out to be, a crock
just
of
made up
BS. But CNN's like that. Like and everyone knows they ran with the Russian collusion story from 2016 till like, I don't know, months ago. They're probably still running stuff about Russian collusion. And now we all know that none of it's true. Complete fabrication that originated in Hillary Clinton's campaign. I mean, Trump, one of Trump's biggest victories is exposing kind of the establishment news media. And now nobody wants to tune in. And I think you can thank Trump for single-handedly kind of destroying CNN's credibility. And you could thank Trump for CNN Plus completely failing on all levels.
Yeah, I think the thing with CNN, too, is they publish these stories that turn out to be false, and then they issue like half-hearted corrections, or they do it really quietly to where you don't really notice. Like, nobody wants to publish a false story. Nobody wants to put information out there that's incorrect. Every publisher, gets information that then turns out maybe to be false or to be different than they thought. And that happens to us. We go in and we issue a correction or a retraction or whatever it is.
Yep.
With CNN, what they usually do, and the same with like the New York Times and a lot of establishment media, is sometimes they'll issue a correction that like kind of says they were wrong, but not really. Sometimes they'll just correct the story without even saying that it was like they'll just go in and change it, and they won't even say this is a correction.
They'll stealth edit it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they almost never do they come out and say, we reported this incorrectly, and so now we're changing it to mean this. I mean, they don't really do that, and I think people, like I said, people make mistakes, and I think that there's much more respect in admitting your mistakes and saying we're going to fix this, and there is in trying to pretend like it didn't happen.
Right. One of my favorite things they do is they'll put out a story. It'll turn out to be completely false. Then they'll like get a third-party fact checker involved, and the third-party fact checker will issue a fact check that says actually the story is completely true. And then if you read the fact check, it basically says it was all false.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's actually not true.
Or mostly true. And then it's like, no, it's just all false. Like it's all, So people have woken up. I mean, CNN Plus, like literally, like just look at these two stories. Like as we're heading into November, as we're heading into 2022, we're taking over. We are seizing the narrative. We're seizing kind of the messaging sort of around the world, at least around the United States. And people are really abandoning the Democratic Party. People are really abandoning CNN Plus, and they're getting behind people like Musk. They're getting behind people like Ron DeSantis. We're winning here. And that's what, this Twitter news and this CNN Plus news, we're not just winning, they're losing tremendously, and they're panicking, and they know they're losing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's a major switch that we're seeing, and I'm not trying to say that these efforts that conservatives have made, such as Parler, Truth Social, even like the things that the Daily Wire is doing, those are all great. But I think we're seeing a shift from conservatives have to make this alternative media to conservatives now taking over the media that's already there. I mean, we have Elon Musk, not necessarily a conservative, but conservative free speech ideas. Now he's going to be in charge of Twitter. You see in the streaming world, Fox Nation, which is Fox News' app, is doing great, while CNN Plus was unable to basically get off the ground.
Also, one of the big reasons Fox Nation succeeded where CNN Plus failed is that they didn't rush out like a bunch all at once. They slowly built up. But yeah, I mean, it's never looked better for conservatives. We're in a perfect position right now.
I think it's good to have both. It's good to have these alternative sites like Parler. It's good to have the Daily Wire making movies. It's good to have putting conservative things out. And it's also good to have conservatives in the more mainstream places like Twitter or Facebook. I mean, I think we can have both. We don't have to choose one or the other. I think conservatives can make headway in both areas.
And what's really exciting about where we're at right now is that, for the past several decades, the American political spectrum has continued to move entirely left. Far-right Republicans are more left than they used to be. The far left Democrats are as far left as they could possibly be. The whole continuum has shifted left, and now you're beginning to see it in this past year. I think it all began kind of with Virginia DeSantis parents' rights stuff. Beginning to see the whole thing shift back left. I think the leftists are still way out there, but everybody else. Shift back right. Everybody else is shifting back right. People who were liberals 4 years ago are center right now. I mean, if DeSantis runs in 2024, we have a chance to take over everything.
I think it's partly a natural reaction to whoever's in office. When there's a Republican in office, the reaction is to swing a little more left. When there's a Democrat in office, to swing more right. I'm hoping that this will be maybe the last huge swing that we have. Like, we had Donald Trump, and everyone said, we're going to go so far to the left because we don't like Donald Trump. Now we have Joe Biden, who's obviously a terrible president. And, I mean, I'm pretty right, but I'm hoping that we don't have these ginormous pendulum swings. I'm hoping that maybe even both sides can get a little bit more...
I felt like we were edging left under Bush. We went more left under Obama, and then I think they went really left under Trump. And then now I think, you're seeing a pendulum swing that's going to make up for all that ground.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, naturally it's going to swing a little bit here and there, but hopefully we won't see these giant swings to where we have just incredibly ridiculous leftist ideas.
And chaos. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's everything we had for you guys today. A lot of great stuff, Always good to see the folks at CNN suffering in whatever way we can see them suffering. And it's great to, finally have a chance where we may have kind of a free speech platform that's already established. That's already one of the biggest social media platforms in the world. So if you want to follow us for future episodes, make sure to subscribe to the Western Journal on YouTube at youtube.com/wjlive. Subscribe to wjlive at wjlive. We also have a bunch of new fun shows going out on the Western Journal's YouTube channel. Make sure to check that out. Our newest show that we have launched quite successfully, it's been getting lots of views, is The Stack. Basically, in about 4 minutes, we give you the 3 top stories of the day. It's a great way to just quickly check out, here's what's happening now in the news. Here's what you need to care about as a conservative that's concerned about, what's happening under Joe Biden, what's happening with all of this trans stuff in schools. If you want to know that stuff, make sure to tune into The Stack at the Western Journal's YouTube page. If you want to support us overall as a company, make sure to join the Western Journal, subscribe to the Western Journal at westernjournal.com/join. That helps us circumvent a lot of big tech censorship. It's our subscribers are just everything. They have supported us when times have been the toughest, and we thank you so much. And please, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. You're helping out some great journalism and some great work. That all being said, that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.